Hello, and welcome again to M.C.McNeel's Twisted Fiction. And we continue with Chapter 3, Blood for Flowers, written by me, M.C. McNeil. Chapter 3. Thera called for the massive iron gates of the city to be opened for the returning warriors who marched in together 2 by 2. First the cavalry, followed by the charioteers and the archers, followed lastly by the phalanx, whom were always first in and first out, just like Thera. She waited on her battle steed for the last rider to return, Odessa, whom had ridden out with the boy and should be returning soon. But until then, Thera waited at the gates on the bluff overlooking the sea. The gates were hers to open, and the gates were hers to close. She had done so for nearly 2 years in the queen's stead, as the Themysciran ruler had grown old and ill, requesting Thera to command and lead in times of warfare. Thera had enjoyed her role and was an able and wise leader, though her mind was greatly troubled as another breeding season approached, and she had yet to provide daughters for her country, as was the duty of every Themysciran woman. Many thoughts came to her mind as she waited. A knot in her stomach twisting tighter, her throat parched, head beginning to throb as she wondered what was taking Odessa so long. Far off, across the hills, Odessa had reached the little road that snaked beside the sea, just as dusk was approaching. Odessa bade the boy farewell, yet Elgar stopped before turning to lead the team of horses away. He spoke to the Themysciran warrior, asking, "Why is it that you stole our idols? You do not worship them. They are not your gods. What purpose can they possibly serve your people?" Odessa paused, bringing her gray war steed around to face the little foreign boy, who stood on the chariot glaring up at her with all the anger and rage he rightly deserved to be experiencing. "Those idols of your people, now, they weigh as much as my steed. Why, it took 10 warriors to cart them away. So much gold, so precious to our artisans who craft the finest jewelry and crowns desired by all the nations. We have a special need for gold, and we will do anything to anyone to obtain as much as we need. Unfortunately for the priests of your cities, your temples and the gods provided no protection or security for the idols that you worship. It was only a matter of time before someone came along and took them. Your people should be grateful that it was my ladies who came, and not the Persians or Assyrians. As for you, boy, when you return home, do not go to sleep right away, for this could cause you much trepidation. Though you may be tired, take no sleep. Remain awake as long as possible. Tell your story of all that you have witnessed, everything that has happened here to you today. For if you do not do as I say, this day will haunt you in your dreams for the rest of your life. Now go home, little boy, and go back to your training, and do your best to grow up into a warrior, and you can return to my people on the field of battle a man. Then I will not feel so bad when I take your head." Well, to this Odessa only laughed as she gazed down at the small, ambitious boy. Elgar said nothing as he took in a deep breath, his heart racing, his nostrils flared as he spoke with the bold, proud voice of his people. "When I see you again in battle, it will be your head that I take first." Oh, again she only laughed, scoffing him, mocking him. "Here, Elgar, take this and wear this," she said, removing her gauntlet and giving it to him, "so that when we meet again in battle, I will recognize you. When you come to kill me, I will know for sure that it is you." The boy took the lightweight bronze armor and slipped it over his thin arm. Elgar had to push the band all the way up to his upper arm, and it was even then a loose fit. Odessa laughed as she watched the young, fortunate boy as he headed off down the road towards his home, the dust kicking up under the horse's hoofs. Then she turned her gray horse, galloping off, riding to the west through the forest of oaks and elms, giving her a bit of coolness as the heat of the day dissipated. Odessa felt excited, a rush in her blood, as she knew soon the troops would be given 3 months in which to breed. This would be Odessa's 3rd year to partake in the campaign, and thus far she had not been successful at bringing forth a daughter. Her only child, a boy, had been given to his father to raise, as was the custom of her people. Odessa greatly enjoyed the procreation and passionate efforts of breeding, and she longed for the arms of Amanitis, her breeding partner. Odessa was looking forward with much anticipation. Sorry, I've lost my spot here. Take 2. Odessa was looking forward with much anticipation to journeying back to Macedon, to try again with a handsome, strong partner she had established. Odessa urged her gray horse forward on as she neared the walled cities of her people. Thera took in a deep, rich breath of the ocean air as she waited on this hot, early spring evening as the warm southern winds blew up from the deserts of Syria and Persia. Thera felt uneasy, knowing the breeding season would begin soon, and after what happened last year, Thera looked forward to the future with much dread. She was not certain how to proceed, but she knew she would never be welcome back in any city of Thrace ever again. Now Thera was strong, tall, beautiful, intelligent, well-skilled with weapons, well practiced in the art of war, gifted with the knowledge of many languages, a sly and cunning military leader, but all the greatness of her mind and body, she knew deep in her heart, loving was an art. To be passionate with a man, a woman must possess a certain deep and needful talent and skill, which Thera believed she lacked. Thera saw Odessa approaching, and she called out to her as they each went riding off together. As the gates were opened up for Thera, the 2 young warriors entered their territory. However, they did not return to Themyscira, the capital city. Instead, they headed west into the setting sun towards Colchis, where the army had amassed for the cleansing ritual. As was the custom of this region, the warriors were unclean and not fit to return to their home city, with the blood of men on their bodies and the battle fresh in their minds. All warriors would remain for 7 days to cleanse the gore of war from their bodies and minds. When Thera and Odessa approached, the aroma of braised lamb, roasting vegetables, and breaking bread made their stomachs burn with hunger. They were so famished from fighting all day. Before they could feast, Thera and Odessa were stripped of their armor and garments so they could join the other warriors in the lake, where all the ladies swam naked in the cool, fresh water as the sun set, rinsing the blood from their hair and body and skin. Even a few of the prize tigers of the fighting force joined in, splashing and swimming after their trainers, frolicking in the water. Laughters and feelings of elation arose from the group as they rejoiced that only a few of their sisters-in-arms were killed in battle that day. There was much excitement in the air as the young warriors spoke of the anticipation in their hearts, as this would be many of the young warriors' first involvement in the breeding season. Though Thera seemed distracted, as Lexa and Lucia Vega began discussing their prowess of their established breeding partners. 3 large bonfires were raging outside of the temple of Artemis as the ladies came out of the water one by one, drying their naked, glistening bodies by the fire. 300 warriors were wrapped in linens as they were seated at 5 long tables there under the stars, where they were served endless portions of meat, vegetables, fruit, and freshly baked honey wheat bread with lots of goat's cheese, along with amphora after amphora of sweet, delicious red wine. At the head of each table were the generals of their respective divisions, with Thera at the head of the center table, with a mix of warriors who were veterans of their class, and different warriors and ministers of war and such. And they all sat and supped, talking of battle. All were encouraged to eat as much and drink as much as they desired. As the sun set, the full moon arose in the east, and Lacuna spoke, saying, "Look, my sisters, our goddess Artemis has come to gaze at her reflection in the water and bless our victory." Thera stood raising her flagon of wine as she stared up at the face of the moon, Artemis, twin sister to Apollo, god of the sun. As she looked out over this sea of happy faces, Thera stood on her chair, saying in a loud voice, "O Artemis, you have watched over us and protected us. And delivered us from the hands of our enemy. Tonight we come here together to salute you." A great cheer came up from the victorious warriors. "Now, my sisters, fill yourself with nourishment of the fields, and drink the blood of the grape from our vineyards, and may blessings be upon those who serve us, for without the daughters of the temple and the kitchens we would not be able to fight." Here another uproar came from the mouths of the drunken warriors to show respect to the women in their society who tended the fields and flocks and orchards and vineyards. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm losing my place in here. I'm having little troubles. Okay. By the light of the fires and the silver light of the moon, the conversation turned once again to men and the art of lovemaking. Lacuna, who sat to the right of Thera, began speaking of her last campaign, saying, "Oh, yes, he was very sweet, like tranquilizoma. Easy going down my throat." She laughed. "Of what do you speak?" Thera asked, intrigued. "You must take your partner in your mouth and swallow his seed," Lacuna laughed, taking a large gulp of wine. "There's much nourishment, and as my mother has assured me, to do so after procreation betters your chances of bringing forth a daughter. An old wives' tale." She rolled her eyes, picking up her glass of wine. "Oh, Commander, and tell us, how many daughters have you issued forth from your womb? For you know that I have 3. Lacuna smiled, her eyes sparkling in the firelight. Thera said nothing. Instead, she sat there embarrassed. "Come now, Thera, come to Scythia with me, and I will teach you how to bring your lover to his knees." Lacuna laughed along with the other women, and Thera felt a blush come to her cheeks. Here Thera did not reply. She merely continued eating the succulent, juicy lamb that was braised in garlic, rosemary, and olive oil. All feasted and continued their discussions that warm spring evening in the walled cities of their home, there beside the Black Sea, all but Thera. Her mind turned over many thoughts as she sat at the head of the long table. She knew she did not want to partake in the breeding season, but partake she must. Though Thera was a skilled warrior and killed countless men who had tried to take her people's lives and land, and though she had led many successful raids and brought back mountains of gold for the treasury, if she could not bring forth a daughter to her society, then all her achievements were totally and utterly without meaning. Now this fact, which plagued her now lo these many months, brought a pain to her head and an ache in her heart. Thera gazed up at the moon, sipping her wine, thinking of the time when She was just a little girl and didn't have to worry about such things. But worry about such things she must. So she ate and she drank, and the night rolled on. End chapter 3. All right, yeah, I'm new at this, guys, so I'm having a little trouble with my old computer. So, again, I thank you for joining me. I hope you're enjoying these stories. I know right now this is a very difficult time in the world, but remember, we're all alone, but we're in this together. So, again, I want to thank you, and a big shout out to my family and to my sister Elizabeth. I hope you're all doing well, and I miss you all very much. And chapter 4 will begin in a little while. All right, again, thank you so much. Mary Catherine McNeil, M.C.McNeel's Twisted Fiction. Thank you. Okay, bye.